Hey guys, it's Carl Brown for GuitarLessons365.com. Today we'll learn how to play my instrumental version of Freebird by Lynyrd Skynyrd. So a few obvious differences here. I'm not playing the slide part with a slide. So instead of having to the cumbersome setup of having to go from slide to playing just with your fingers and back and forth, didn't want to do that. So just did it all without a slide. So I'm going to show you how to play that part, still kind of emulate the slide with doing some kind of pre-bends and stuff like that, without having to use one of those things. All right, now I've already taught the full recorded version of this song, so hopefully you guys can check that out. That's where you're going to learn how to play the epic guitar solo. I'm not going to show you that. I'm just going to show you how to do the slide part without a slide. And show you how to do the vocal lines, which I transcribed for guitar. And then the crazy solo, you can check out my previous video to learn all that, because I certainly do not want to go through all that again. All right, so let's start here with the slide guitar part, played just with a standard technique, and it sounds like this. Alright, so what am I doing there? Well, first I slide on the G string up to the 12th fret. So I usually start around the 7th fret. And then I'm just going to do a half step bend and release at the 11th fret. I want to pick it again and then do a pre-bend at the 11th fret. And then pull off the 9th fret. So let me just play that much of it. Alright, so from that 9th fret, after you pull off, slide down to the 7th fret, and then slide back 9 to 11. And then end that phrase with a big bend. I just play the 7th fret there on the G string and just pull it full step bend to the floor. So we have this. Now, as you still have that bend in your hand, you're going to pick it again and release the bend. And then play that, which is the 9th fret on the D string, and then bend it up a half step, and then it's kind of probably the hardest part of it. You're going to grab the 9th fret on the G string, but do a half step pre-bend, and then release it. So I picked it a couple times and release. So we have this. So it's a good little bending exercise. So from there, I just play the 10th on the D to the 10th on the A. And then have this. All right. So after the, that's just kind of muting this, palm muting it. 5 on the D, then 4, 5, then a pre-bend half step at the 6th fret again, and release it, and raise it back up. So we have this. All right, and then I jump up here. You can just slide up. So I kind of slide up the G string and just do, and that's just pulling off the 15 to 13 on the B string, over to 14 on the G, then slide 13 to 15 on the B. Sorry about that. All right, so far we have this. All right, so then we start over pretty much. But right here, instead of sliding down to the 7th fret and doing that whole melody, we should just let it slide down to the G string. And then just continue the melody from that pre-bend part. All right, so really great bending exercise here, and then just we're gonna go into the verse by doing this. So I'm just pulling off 7 to 6 on the G string, over to 7 on the D. So do that twice, and then come back to the 6 on the G, and slide up to the 12th fret. All right, now we make it to the actual vocal parts. Now what I like to do when I get here is change to the neck pickup. You'll hear that real quick. Just show you an example of what that sounds like. Alright, so if you noticed in the video, what I did is I switched to the neck pickup there to give it a kind of a warmer, kind of a vocal quality about it. And I also roll the volume knob down just a little bit, so it's not so in your face, you know? So we have this. So you can, try to, that's pretty much around the melody there. When we're doing this type of thing, you can just really kind of do what you want with it, as long as you can still pick up the vocal melody. So that's what I do. I don't always stick exactly with this phrasing, but it's just really a lot right out of this E minor pentatonic. Out of E minor pentatonic, so it's pretty easy to pick out the melody around there. So, but what I'm doing here most of the time with the melody is this. So that's a 14 on the G, then 12, 15 on the B. And then I do a pre-bend to kind of give it that vocal quality coming down to this note. And on the 14th fret on the G string again. So do a whole step pre-bend. So we have this. Take it again, over to 12th fret on the B string. And then hammer 12 to 14 on the G string. Little bend and release. And resolve it there, the 12th fret on the G. So we have this. Now this is a great phrasing exercise. If you can actually sing the melody line, or the vocal line, hear it in your head, if you know the song that well, to try to play along with it. It's really great it starts kind of making your fingertips kind of develop eyeballs a little bit. So where you hear something, it relates it to the guitar instead of you're just hearing some vocal melody. So it's really helpful, and it helps you with your phrasing a lot as well too. So we have give some vibrato, and then we have this. So that's just hammering on 12 to 14 again on the G. So the actual melody is closer to that, just back to 10, 12 on the D string. But I like to kind of slide 14 down to 12 on the D, then 10, 12. Now we end it with that same slide lick, which happened in the slide guitar part that we didn't play on a slide. And then you're back to the melody again. Pretty much the same thing. This one I like to start kind of, you can pick it with the same vocal phrasing if you want. So I'm starting at 12-14 on the D, and then 12-14 on the G. Kind of hammer that on. And that same ending as before. And then pretty much continuing the same thing. So you pretty much did the same phrase 3 times there. And then we get to where it changes a little bit when it gets to that and this bird you cannot change part. So the dynamics obviously change in the vocal line there. So what I do is I turn the volume back up, flick it over to the bridge pickup, and I have this. So something like that. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to bend up on the 12th fret of the B string. Now that's a half step bend again, and those are always the hardest to keep in tune, so really listen for it. So I'm just holding that bend and picking it a few times, and then do a whole step bend at the 13th fret on the B string. Release, and then bring it back up. So we have this. Now as you're doing that bend, pick it, and that's when you get the... So that all that is picking that note, release, bend it back, just go back and forth. So far we have this. And then I kind of start the same way again. Just hold it, release, down to the 10th fret on the B string. So that's... Then you do that melody again, except this time you let when you release the bend, make it slower. And we're going to end this section with this. So that's the bend at the 15th fret on the B. Release. And then play 15, 13, and then a bend there at the 13th fret. Release. Back to the 10th fret, and then you go back to the same slide melody that we entered the song with. So let me just play that section for you real quick, the second half of that verse, so you can piece it all together. Alright, so then we make it to the second, after the slide part, which is just a kind of a repeat, we make it to the second verse section, which is kind of extended leading into the guitar solo. So that sounds like this. Okay, so now we're back up with the neck pickup here, and I've got the volume down just a couple, just maybe down to 8 or something like that. And then this melody is a little bit different. This "bye and bye baby" or whatever thing at the beginning. It's kind of a weird lyric. But so I like to just kind of wing it a little bit there. So what I'm doing is I'm just going straight down the E minor pentatonic. Kind of strip down to 10 and 12 there on the A. All right, and then the rest of it is kind of the same. Now, there was kind of a little slight change I did do just to make sure during the previous slide part, the second time of doing that slide part, I had this little lick, like this. So I forgot about that. So I'll just show you that real quick. Pulling off 15 to 13 on the B, over to 14 on the G string, and then quick bend to the 17th fret on the B, and then the 15. So that's there in the slide part if you want to really do it exactly like I was doing it. All right, so then we're back to the same melodies as before. Now, at this part of the song, right before we start changing up, I like to just kind of mess around with the melody. Because we've been doing the same melody a lot, and even though we can mess around with it a lot, it's cool to add something. So I'm just really going down the scale. And what I'm doing, usually I'll just call up the notes and you can just mess around with them. It's just 12, 10, 9 on the D string. It's all on the D string. Then 7, 5. Alright, so that's really it. When you see me do that in the video, if you want to play that and not the vocal melody, I think it sounds pretty nice and it kind of keeps things a little more interesting. From there we go back into... And then we're back to the, what is it? And this bird you cannot change section. So that's going back to the bridge pickup. Everything's the same as before. Now here, before we went back to the slide part, but now instead there's a little extension. So that's just the same thing, bending on a half step on the 12th fret, then a full bend at the 13th fret, then. So we've done that a bit, where you're doing the bend on the 13th fret and you go back and forth. Now this is when the music kind of picks up tempo here, and it's kind of leading into the guitar solo, and we have this vocal melody. And then the solo comes in. That's when I jump into the solo there. All right, so that's just kind of the same, built off the same. Bending at the 13th fret on the B string, but this time you resolve down to the 12th fret on the G instead of the 10th fret of the A on the B string. That's the A note. So coming out of this, let's do the end of the previous melody. Here we go. down to the 12th fret on the G, and then back to the 13th fret bend. Take it a few times to release it. Back down to that 12th fret on the G. Then I jump up and grab 15 on the B string, and then back to the 13th fret bend, and then a bend again. Release, bring it back. Just follow the vocal melody. Bend, and you're gonna end it there on that note. Into an epic guitar solo. It's a lot of fun to play. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this. It's cool to just do an instrumental version, especially if you can't sing like me, and kind of takes people by surprise every once in a while. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon with another one. Bye bye.